Good morning. The meeting is called to order. I'm your moderator, Idriss Jazairy. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, honorable participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to serve as moderator of today's panel debate entitled Protecting People on the Move, Internally Displaced Persons in the Context of the Refugee and Migrant Crisis. This meeting is being organized jointly by the Geneva Center together with the IDMC and the mission of the United Arab Emirates. The Geneva Center very much appreciates the broad-based representation of permanent missions from the West and from the Arab region today, and we are greatly honored by the presence of all of you. Our aim is to encourage global dialogue on justice, tolerance, and human solidarity, as well as to promote cooperative relations between stakeholders involved. We hope today's panel debate will serve as a model for future dialogue between decision makers of Europe and the Middle East and NGOs, think tanks, etc., to discuss and identify solutions to issues of mutual concern, such as the forced displacement of IDPs. Today's panel will be opened by the chairman of the Geneva Center, His Excellency Dr. Hanif Ali Al-Qasim. We also had the privilege of having the presence of the permanent representative of the Republic of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Ambassador Wafiq Sadiqov, who will enlighten us on Azerbaijan's successful experience to address the plight of IDPs. Following the opening remarks, the debate will benefit from the expert insights from renowned global spokesperson on IDPs. Although not physically present with us today, we'll start then with the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and several other members that I will refer to as we proceed with the discussion. There's no UN institution that is primarily responsible or exclusively for dealing with IDPs. And as you said, it's a good thing we have some NGOs, in particular some very active institutions like IDMC, to fill that gap. And we therefore welcome our own cooperation with the IDMC in this regard. You have also mentioned an issue which is important to all of us, is the question of return. Mentioned in the case of Azerbaijan, the return raises a certain number of political issues that we're not in a position to solve today. But the question of return is a very arduous issue. People have said, for instance, on Myanmar, that there should be a return of the people, the Rohingyas, into Myanmar, and there was an agreement that was signed to this effect between Bangladesh and Myanmar. But what we see of the situation prevailing in Myanmar today would let us be very preoccupied about people getting back to their place of abode when security is not provided. And what I say about Myanmar could also apply to Syria and Iraq today. So it's a burning issue, but it's important that we can address it. And the third point I'd like to register, as you said, sir, a lot of people have had problems in addressing the resettlement of IDPs and what you have achieved in Azerbaijan with the highest proportion of people that are IDPs or refugees is something that others should meditate, especially those countries that today are calling for expressing concern because they have a 0.02% of their population which is comes from displaced families or refugees. Your success story is a demonstration that it's a question where there's a will, there's a way, and there's some leadership that is required. I would like to pay special tribute to the role of Mrs. Merkel in particular on the issue of migrants in general. If ever there was a Nobel Prize that would be well deserved in relation to migrants, it's that political courage that she had to take this situation directly, pay the political cost, but keep the upholding human rights of migrants. And I think this is something that we all admire. Thank you. I think that this was a very inspiring statement. And one of the important points is, of course, that when we discuss these issues of IDPs, we like to have IDPs present with us and participating in the decision-making process on issues that concerns them because they have been so disempowered by circumstances and sometimes by conflict that there is obviously a gap that we must try to address. I now would like to give the floor to the next speaker, who is the Policy and Advocacy Advisor at the Norwegian Refugee Council Syrian Office, Mrs. Rachel Sider. The Norwegian Refugee Council is one of the highly valued humanitarian relief organizations which provide humanitarian assistance to the Syrian population. Thank you very much. This is a very concrete roadmap that you've given us to address the situation. And it brings to mind the fact that sometimes we're more sensitive to sufferings of IDPs that are decibel related than those that are silent. If you have a hospital that is being bombed, people are up in arms saying this is a war crime. But if you have that same hospital or another one next door, which stays put, but which is completely stalled and cannot provide any assistance because it can't get in the prosthesis, it can't get in the spare parts for the power generating machine, it can't get the drinkable water, it can't get medication. These people are dying from a silent death. And I think it's important that when we look at the predicament in Syria in particular, that those forms of silent death, which are no less cruel than the deaths that are associated with a high level of decibels, should be taken into account. And the third point that is, relates to that was just referred to is that people that can't access to their documents, to their property title, to their birth certificate, to be reinstalled in their villages, this is a form of silent killing as well, because they cannot get the rebuild their lives after such a situation. So I think that as we look at the IDPs, we should try to steer clear of politicization of suffering and to recognize that whether the suffering or the deaths are noisy or silent, it makes no difference from our point of view. We want to find ways of limiting such deaths and permitting people to have access to recovery funds and compensation, access to property. And again, the example of Azerbaijan in this context is particularly inspiring. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I just conclude by saying that we're going to publish a book on this meeting, and any further remarks you'd like to send us to be taken into account for the preparation of this book would be most welcome. I'd like also to put emphasis here on the fact that I was very happy to see that an increasing number of countries from WEOG are present here. It's happened before, but we'd like you to speak and give us the benefit of your own thoughts. We would like to be able to exchange, the center would like to be able to exchange views with you and try and identify subjects in which you're interested and other developing countries are interested as well, so that we can contribute to our basic objective, which is to build bridges and find common language and join forces. If it's already an encouragement that you're present with us, perhaps next time you would consider, or in the meantime, until the next meeting, letting us know what you'd like us to discuss as a subject, and that could be of a broader interest by other partners, and we'd really be happy to engage in what is really the raison d'etre of this center, is to engage on dialogue between people that didn't necessarily speak to one another before. So with these last comments, I'd like to thank everybody again and declare that this meeting is now closed.